Can you hear it? Welcome to Relay.
Hi.
Hey everybody, how's it going? So believe it or not, I'm running the show today, so it's going to be a total disaster.
It's already a dumpster fire.
Well, yeah, of course.
Hi.
Hey everybody, how's it? So apparently Miles KG21 says Tesla semi-hype. Absolutely. Also Tesla Roadster version 2 hype.
Mm-hmm.
Getting a second Tesla Roadster?
Yeah, it's going to be the fastest car in the world. So
Very fast.
yeah.
Very fast.
Impressive. All right, so welcome to the Relay Station. You don't have an intro because I'm me and I'm not Ares.
Do you mind if I do something?
Oh, of course. Go ahead.
Go for it.
Welcome, everyone, to Star Citizen PodSat. This is your first podcast today for Star Citizen. All the information, all of the talk, some of the drunkenness. The Relay Station. Go ahead.
That sounds about
Very
right.
nice.
Excellent. And yeah, I'm going to be on. I'm going to be on several of the podcasts today and doing the Relay Station. Then me and Shiver are doing Relay Replay, and then jumping onto the captain's table with TheAstroPub here. And so you can waste your entire Saturday with us.
Listen, Shiver. All right. It's a tradition that Relay members jump on the table, usually get naked, and probably shout something.
Oh, it's good to know I have my marching orders for this evening. All right.
Wow.
If it's not Jake or Eris, whoever the Relay, I need to get like maple syrup on to just like maple to get it on to stream, just to see how much I can push Relay, like even the hardworking, fastidious parts of Relay to break down and get drunk on the captain's table. Just saying.
I'll have to ask him. Although he would take great umbrage with that. Canadian syrup.
Canadian syrup. Sorry, maple syrup.
I think you'll find it's
Whatever.
syrup.
So the big question is, hello everyone in our audience today. How's everybody out there doing? That's the big question. How are you guys feeling about Star Citizen this week?
I'm gonna be honest. I've hit autopilot since Sophie Fun comes out. I'm like, I haven't even watched the last two ATVs. I started watching the ATV and realized that like 90% of the ATV seems to be just the Burndown, and I'm like, I got all the information I needed at the beginning of the Burndown. Wait, okay, let's talk about procedural cities. And it was cool, kind of cool to watch the procedural cities, but it was at the same time I'm like, this is just watching a dude talk about procedural cities for like 20 minutes.
And it's stuff that's not even in 3.0, right? It's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
just wanna know that
when they were a bit
CPU's gonna drop.
goofy, you know, they would have pointless scenes and just fluff out a bit. Something other than just business as usual. So to show that they're still having fun rather than they're just stressed out.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
even like small things like the thing about the pathing, the AI pathing one was hilarious because there was the dude who was getting sexually assaulted by the other one who was stalking him and then trying to like it was hilariously, because it wasn't intended like that, but it totally looked like a dude was stalking someone, walked up next to him, slid his hand across his thigh, and it's like, hey buddy, and the other guy got up like, nope, I'm walking away now, this is not gonna happen, you know. But like that kind of stuff, while informative, it was interesting because you could see it, and then it was also entertaining because it was like hilarious and unintentionally. Whereas it's hard to see with like the latest ATV, it was just a dude talking. They didn't even really show like the reports where they're like, oh yeah, you should really show this part. It was really amazing when we got this. And it's like they didn't show it. Like, you didn't record that, but it was really amazing. You didn't record that. Can you recreate it like 5 minutes? You know? So record it and then we can see like, oh, that is amazing.
one of the things that is coming up soon here is the anniversary sale, the anniversary special. So to run people through that, looks like they're doing, it's from November 24th to December 4th. They're going to be doing 8 different videos that sort of highlight, I think, probably the different ship manufacturers. First one is Anvil Aerospace on the 24th, then Aegis Dynamics. Then the 26th is Ground Vehicles and Alien Ships. The 27th is Origin. The 28th is Consolidated Outland, and yeah, we were talking about this before the show. Like, are they going to bring the Pioneer back? Because other than that, they only have the Mustang.
100%.
Or maybe they're gonna build a truck or something.
And then,
Listen, I want my Consolidated Outlands Roadster version 2. All right, I'm just saying that because we all know that Consolidated Outland is just SpaceX. It's like redneck Elon Musk. Is what
actually
Consolidated
the funny thing is, because the funny thing to me is that Consolidated Outland actually seems more like Tesla than SpaceX, in a way, which is weird. But
Well, the Pioneer is definitely more SpaceX-y, right?
yeah, nice. That's actually SpaceX-y. I like that. Someone should coin that.
Sexy.
November 29th is Robert Space Industries. November 30th, the last day of the month, is Musashi Industrial and Starflight Concern, also known as MISC.
Built this tough.
December 1st is Drake, and then the 2nd to the 4th is an all manufacturers sale. Sounds like they're going to have a bunch of videos starring Sandy and Chris that sort of outline the entire anniversary sale, so it should be fun. Last year's was really good, so hopefully we get some more cool.
You know what?
Is anyone else kind of thinking Chris might dress up as a booth babe for it?
We hope for that every year.
I want
Maybe this year our dream.
I want him to come out of the box. Yes, I want a box that's like on the table and him to pop out with like skimpy clothing on and be like, "Happy sales. I don't come with the ships." At some point, one of these sales, you need to have a Chris Roberts bobblehead just so you can say, "Yes, he comes with the ship."
I could see it. Yeah, have Chris Roberts, like, I can see it now. Chris Roberts totally dressed up in, like, marine medium armor with his helmet off. And, like, yeah, totally. Stick that on the dash of your ship. You're just sitting over there grinning, Shiver.
The weird bit is I can picture it so well. I really can.
Oh, man.
See, the funny part is that from people I've heard who've worked with him in the past and work with him currently, the dude is very inappropriate and like tells inappropriate jokes all the time and swears like no one's business and all that kind of stuff. So it'd be interesting to see that side of Chris on a video that's not like, because he always tries to like, "Hello, I'm the CEO. I'm going to talk to you and try to be like your bumbling dad when trying to explain things. But I'm very, thank you. When he should be like, "Hey, thank you for the money. I'm going to make a motherfucking game and it's going to be awesome. You guys like cocaine and strippers? We got cocaine and strippers." I'll be right back,
Oh, man.
It's from Austin. I mean, come on. Like he was raised in Austin. And Manchester. It's like if you could pick the two cities in the U.S. That's my cat being very loud. Two cities in the U.S. and the U.K. which have inappropriate tendencies to be more inappropriate. Like there's very few other cities. Maybe Chicago or New York, but come on, let it out, Chris. We want to see that side. Maybe just me. Maybe I'm the only one who wants to see that side.
That would be amazing. Actually, what I expect to see that in is the making of Star Citizen documentary. I want to see all the moments where he just like loses his shit.
More of that,
Great. So the other thing to mention about the anniversary sale is for Concierge VIP black card holders, if you are one, they are having 5 different pop-up parties around the world, official pop-up parties.
Stole Manchester, Austin, LA, and Frankfurt, right?
Derby as well, I think.
So
Derby.
yeah, Derby's
Yeah.
yeah.
So well,
exactly.
Bristol, because aren't they technically? No, they're in Manchester. I know they're not really in Manchester.
Well, they're
in
in Wilmslow. They're in Wilmslow and
Yeah.
Derby and Frankfurt and Austin and Los Angeles. If you are a member of the Concierge, you've already got the email. Just check it out. Actually, if you don't have the email and you are a Concierge, check your junk mail box because that's where mine arrived. I wish I could go, but I can't because I don't live anywhere near any of those places. So if you can go, do. All of those parties are on Tuesday, November 21st, so they're actually coming up in 3 days.
Tuesday. Yeah, I have no excuse. I have no work this next coming week because of the Thanksgiving in the U.S. And then I also live in Austin. I literally live like between 10 and 20 minutes away from that.
So you're
that
going,
pop-up.
right?
No excuse.
So I have to go. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's and it should be fun. I mean, those events are usually a good time. I had a lot of fun when we were down in LA. It was a good time. So the other big thing this week was they made a lot of progress towards a PTU version of 3.0. They have basically closed down shopping. Shopping is more or less done. They've squashed most of the bugs. They had a director's review. There was a few things that they needed to fix, but they've come a long way there. How are you feeling about the state of 3.0, or are you just annoyed that it's not out? How about you, Vince?
It sounds like progress is being made. I mean, obviously shopping is just one of many, many things that they have to iron out, but it sounds like the Evocati are having a less and less rough time, still, being very active in helping squash and locate bug and reproduce bugs and all that. But PTU sounds like it might come out this year. I'm pretty sanguine about that. So hey, no laughing. We're optimistic here.
It's just the idea that it sounds like it may come out possibly.
There's a slight
maybe a little
possibility
bit
of a slim chance. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't really have. No one really has that kind of knowledge. But I'm really just holding out for P2 and looking out for whatever signs of progress that I can through, leaks and around the verse and stuff like that. But
I will say, given the status of early access, not early access, like the first previews of Star Wars Battlefront. I'm not talking about the whole gambling scam, but CIG should totally add loot boxes to Star Citizen. That's my campaign now. Add loot boxes.
No, do I need to clip? Do I need to clip that and play that clip on your show?
Yes, and funnel it to me. Just funnel all of that money to me.
I think they need to add it to the single player, so it's like to progress in the storyline, you need to pay $80 to unlock Old Man.
They really pissed off that player base to the point where they even completely backpedaled and they're like, yeah, okay, we removed all the microtransactions from the game, but because they said temporarily, people are still like, screw you.
But one of the biggest problems that it had is that it's unbalanced. It has the loot crate issue. It also is buggy as balls. It actually released without even its final levels.
Yeah.
The final parts of the single player campaign. You'll get it for free later. I'm assuming that it has something to do with the new movie coming out, so that's why they probably delayed that release. It's probably done, but they're like, we can't release it because Star Wars isn't technically, they don't want to have any spoilers.
You know what they should have done then? They should have delayed it because obviously it's not done. They should have delayed the release of the game until after the movie came out.
No, they couldn't have done that.
What they should have done was timed the single player. So hey, you get the multiplayer now, and the single player is timed to release right as the day of the game. Because you could easily do that. People would still hack it, but But
leverage that hype. So.
But the biggest issue is bugs. There were so many bugs in that initial release, and part of me is like, well, I'm glad that 3.0 is not being released in a shitty state right now. I'm okay with it releasing maybe next year and sometime earlier, like January or February, because it's done, but it's not because it's not really ready. Putting it in PTU for a long stretch, I'm okay with that because I prefer that than the reaction that people have to to buggy games, which is it's terrible. I want my money back. You know.
Yeah, of course. And what it looks like to me is that they are. I think they're polishing the crap out of this build, and that's what it seems like to me. They're trying to get all the bugs out, which is never going to happen, but you can get pretty close. And I'm getting the sense that PTU might actually not be that long, because by the time it gets to PTU, it sounds like it's going to be pretty polished. So they're mostly going to be looking at things like load bugs, things that pop up when you get a ton of players. Because that's the other thing. We got the unexpected news. Was it last week that they are now looking at 60 players per server, which is a big increase over 24. And not only that, but that they had good performance at that level. So that's pretty. That's a big improvement. Obviously not where it needs to get to, but it's still a big improvement.
I mean, in fairness, it was something like they got it down to like 50 or 70 bugs before Evocati, and then it was like the week after Evocati, and they said like 100 plus bugs. So I do expect a sudden surge in reported bugs when it goes to PTU, like open.
The reality is that going from their build to the Evocati find a lot more bugs than they could ever find. Going from Evocati to PTU, the stress on the servers itself creates some things that they can never do on their own. So it increases that and even more. And then from PTU to live, there are the increased numbers of people, plus things like free fly weeks, because we all know they're going to have a free fly week when 3.0 comes out, probably like the weekend after it's released, is going to increase even more bugs. So you're never going to kill all the bugs, but the fact of the matter is that it's going to delay. Every release will delay a little bit, because even the release to live will delay the next patch 3.1 a little bit, because they have to go back and fix that stuff for 3.1.
Yeah, you gotta repair what you gotta put up the 3.0.1 patch. All right, so the increase, do you think that they should have just gone with 24 players to see how stable I could get it for 3.0, or do you support the increase to 60 players? What do you think, Shiver?
I think it's a good idea to at least experiment around with it at this stage, because it's basically new framework, it's new groundwork, it's a start at the very least of Star Network. So stressing it out at this point, seeing where the weaknesses are now, so they can curtail as much as they can before it goes to a live audience, and suddenly one day on a live server it's 60 players and then the whole thing crash and burns. So at least they can cut off X, Y, and Z and say, okay, let's get it to 60, stabilize it, see what kind of frames people are capable of getting, what frames we can run the server tick at, and so on. So I think it's a good idea to have a look at it, but I don't know how far they're going to take it right now. If it's going to be like, okay, we've got it to 60, stable, let's leave it there, come back to it later, or keep working on that, trying to increase the player count.
Yeah, they might have just used that as a test to get diagnostics and information for future work, right? Like they might have no plans at all to implement that for 3.0 or even 3.1, but the information they get from doing that test run of having 40 or 60 players could be used to help develop the technology when they do implement that in the future. Maybe that's their thinking.
I think one of the things it does is it starts to unveil what sort of things break down when you increase the player count. And they've already said, like, there are certain processes on their servers when they're running that they noticed when they increased the player count, that specific process got really stressed. And so they increased the priority for the CPU with that process, and so balance it out better. And that's the type of thing you get. Like, how does the server behave when we increase its stress by, 150%? What do you think, Paul?
I prefer 60 players. The answer is, even if we have diminishing performance, it's still an alpha. 60 players is a lot closer. If they could get 100, 200 players with, less than 60 FPS, what we have now, like which is 25 to 30 FPS. But with that many people, I would be happy with that because you know what? That's a large amount of people in a small area. You can work your way up to make it to increase the performance better and that kind of stuff. And a lot of the stuff that's been implemented, as far as we know, has not been is not the big stuff like the culling and the other kind of things that are supposed to reduce performance or increase performance and reduce problems long term. So. Yeah, I'm all for 60 and lower FPS. That's just saying.
I want my FPS. But there are big gameplay implications.
In an alpha though,
I want it, but it's dipping below 20. Like it hurts, man. It hurts. I can't do it.
What about can we swap 15 players for 15 FPS and meet as a compromise?
I'm sure CIG's looking at that, but I mean, I'd prefer the more players. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
What? No. I was just saying that Shiver said 15 players and 15 FPS.
No, swap 15 more players for 15 more FPS.
Pardon me. Then, yeah.
Yeah, so like 45 or whatever, players at
45 FPS.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's one of the things that actually gives them some flexibility when they do release is they can go, okay, we know what our performance is like at different levels. Where do we want it to be for the release? And they can go, okay, we're going to go back to 24 players because we can now do that at 60 FPS, Or they can go, we're going to do it at 30 players because we can do that at 50 FPS or whatever. But they may be capped at 30 still. We don't really know. That might still be a server problem. And if it is, then, I mean, you might as well get as many players as you can in at 30. As long as it's 30. Like, my problem with my PC is it's not 30, it's 18. Like I rock along at like 18 FPS, and I'm actually always surprised at how good Star Citizen looks at 18 frames per second, but it's still not ideal. How amazing would it look at 100 frames per second? Especially now that I have 144 hertz monitor, it gives me new appreciation for it. So. Is there anything you guys wanted to touch on?
Procedural cities. They look quite nice, don't they?
They do look quite nice. I have to say, absolutely love the way that came about. I can't remember the guy's name, but he I should know his name. What's his name? The guy who came up with the thing.
Alex something?
His last name is something. But I love that he had like the simulation of creating Paris procedurally. He's like, hey, look at this thing. And very quickly they went from that to, hey, we can do this in Star Citizen. There, Alex Ramadi. He's the lead technical artist at Frankfurt. Is super impressive tech, actually. Actually, no, sorry. Is he Frankfurt or is he UK? Does anybody know?
It's hard to tell. I think he's Frankfurt.
He is UK.
He's UK, okay. The problem is that when the UK was founded, a lot of former Crytek engineers went to Manchester. This is before the problem with Crytek and Frankfurt happened in the first place. Yeah. And then once that happened, then a lot of people moved to they started the Frankfurt office. But so there's still a lot of Germans who live in who work in Manchester for the Manchester office. So
it was very cool because we saw Procedural Cities when I did the tour earlier in the year, and it was a much earlier work in progress at that time. But he could still take a ship, go down to the floor, the ground, whichever you want to call it, and weave in and out of the cities. And he said, right now and I think they're still debating whether or not they're going to allow you or where to allow you to fly. There's no technical limits.
Yeah, there's no technical limits. It's going to be interesting. One of the things Chris did say at CitizenCon is that they want to significantly increase the number of landing zones on ArcCorp, because having only one or two seems silly when you have a planet planet-sized city. But even then, so I think what they'll do is they'll eventually have some restrictions on where you can fly, and you can only land at the landing zones. But it sounds like there's gonna be more like 6 than 2. So,
But really,
I
the
will
important
say-
thing is. Sorry, go ahead.
Vince, go ahead.
All right. So I think just really quick, the important thing is that the landing zones are all distinct and unique in some way. It doesn't really make much sense to have several more just for the sake of having several more landing zones. I mean, ArcCorp is kind of a homogeneous world-ish, like it's all kind of one big city. But I mean, with their procedural tech, it probably just through their design of the planet's look and all that, they could have some variation to make the landing zones distinct. Although, I mean, with Hurston and ArcCorp looking so similar, there's still some differences, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But I think I would be okay if there were only 2 or 3 landing zones on ArcCorp.
See, the key, I was going to talk about something like that. So the key is that not to add more things because you add more things. One of the difficult things to express is that players think that having more space to work with, being able to fly around a whole city, is really cool. It is cool the first maybe up to the 7th time you do it. And after a while, it's the same city that you're flying through at the same time. There's no content. It doesn't add any dynamic gameplay. It's just sightseeing, which is cool, but that's kind of what Elite Dangerous exploration is. It's just kind of sightseeing. You kind of go to place, scan, move on, and it's the same thing over and over. And a lot of people don't find that kind of boring and repetitive. But
yeah, I played Elite Dangerous the one day for like 6 hours. That was the longest time I ever played it for. I think my total playtime is like 10 hours. But I played for 6 hours one day, and I realized that after 6 hours of playing this gigantic game that I was bored. I was like, okay.
The game is fun, but it requires other players to kind of make it fun and some other dynamic things. And they've added a lot of stuff since I last played to when I most recently played, and that changed a lot, added a lot more stuff to do. But don't fall into that trap that more is better. That the bigger is better. That more stuff, it means more stuff to do. It just means that there's more stuff, And the big empty sandbox has been a problem in sandbox games since Far Cry 1. Yeah, and it's been a trend. I mean, think about how much just empty space is there even in the most recent Assassin's Creed game, and they just kind of plop forts down for you to take over, but there's no point to it. It's all the same.
Well, back when No Man's Sky came out, and there was all the controversy surrounding it having so little content despite having billions or whatever planets. Chris Roberts was, up front and center saying that it's the content of the game that matters. Space is huge and all that, and we can brag about there being all this space to go around, but what really matters is that there is unique, interesting, engaging content in that universe. So that's not a concern really I have of Star Citizen's direction. I mean, it's a lot of work for them to do, but they have the right idea. They're going to make this game interesting.
It's the same in Star Trek Online. When that came out, it was basically you can either just do all the missions in about a few hours, or you could just go and look at this planet. Just look at it, nothing else. But they've improved that a hell of a lot since release.
Yeah, it's something I think that Star Citizen is doing well from the ground up. One of the things I really like is that the part last week's Happy Hour, not this week's, but the one before, I watched part of that, and I really liked how, in an outpost, if you see something attached to an outpost, it's not useless. It's not just decoration. If it has solar panels, if you destroy the solar panels, then then you might depower the outpost or turn the power off in the outpost. If it has an atmosphere handler, then if you destroy that, then you can get rid of all the atmosphere inside the outpost and kill anybody who doesn't have a helmet. If it has communications, you can destroy them. It doesn't allow them to send a distress signal, all that kind of thing. So, I think they're trying to make it so that very few things are just filler. Everything has a reason to be in the game. I think that's going to be huge for engaging gameplay, and also for when you're doing missions, that also gives you a million different ways to do the mission, right? well, I got to get the stuff out of that outpost. Well, I can run in there and kill everybody with my gun, or maybe I can just sit over here on this ridge and destroy their atmosphere, or their oxygen generation, and everyone will die. And I don't even have to bother firing a shot at the actual guys. So I really like that direction that they're taking.
Yeah,
Lots
everything
of
needs
ideas
to have
for
a
emergent gameplay. Yeah, lots
everything
of
needs everything needs to have a purpose. I think one of the biggest issues are going to go on that's going to happen in these 3.0 releases is that there's going to be a lot of stuff and not a lot of interaction, and they're going to have to start entering in interaction as they go along. Like, for instance, we still don't really know how the inventory system works. Last time we saw it was just kind of like, hey, you have this stuff in your inventory. You just pulled it out of thin air. Let's pull it out of my void and put it on me, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Oh, I need my shield generator, this new shield generator for my ship. Hold on. Let me. Oh, here we go. All right, let's put this in. Just wash it off before you put it in there. So they need to have some sort of inventory system working properly. That also means that'll add things like, for instance, we know that ships have weapon holders. Even some of them already have them, like the Connie and that kind of stuff have spots where you can put in weapons, so you can keep them on your ship, so you don't have to carry them around your inventory. That's the kind of stuff that it sounds mundane, but it's the stuff that makes the game more intense and interesting. When you can't carry everything on you, when you have to anticipate what you're going to be facing with. And that's what Elite Dangerous does very well, is you have to anticipate what you're going to be doing ahead of time, because there's always going to be limitations. And if you try to be a jack of all trades, you're going to be weak to weak to almost everything at some point. You can't be, I'm good at everything. So having a ship where you can put your sniper rifle up with your shotgun and carry around an assault rifle while you're doing an FPS mission, or you're doing, you're walking in an area where players could be, you have the chance to be oh shit, there's I can see a raider camp out over there. I better swap out my assault rifle for my sniper rifle so I can actually hit them from afar and not worry about it. That's the kind of stuff that's going to start being engaging. I think that's one of the things that Outposts can really serve as well, is all of the interaction systems. There's going to be a lot of interaction that needs to be polished and worked on inside those outposts.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the questions I had is, do you guys think do you think that doing a lot of polish now is a good idea? An optimization and bells and whistles? Or is it detracting from what they should be doing, which is, bare bones development? What do you think, Paul?
It's not a simple answer. There's not a simple answer to this. It's, you can't just be oh, they should polish the shit out of it. Oh, they shouldn't polish it. It's an alpha. Just release it. They have to release it so that you can play it. But there's a balance. Will it take so long for me to release this patch that it's absolutely perfect and polished? Because that's going to not only take more time on your end, but when you release the next patch, all that polishing is worthless.
Yeah.
However, there's some engine optimizations that they need to do. There's some new things they need to add that will increase optimization. So it's a balance they have to strike. And my only hope is that they learn how to strike it in the next year or two, because we don't really know about this balance, because we've had 2 yearly releases really in the last 2 years. And it's hard to tell that if what they're doing is what, because we don't see what 3.0 is like. We don't know what 3.0 is going to be like when it releases. We only have speculation and hope. That's it. So.
Shiver?
It's pretty much like Paul said, then there needs to find a balance, because they need to get a lot of the foundation work done, because 3.0 is going to be what they're building off of, and if it's got rickety foundations on it, the wall's going to come down. So in order to prevent the wall coming down in the first place, you need to know what you can get to what level before you can get it out and start working on something else, or finish work on the one thing.
Vince?
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that.
One of the things I was impressed with, I've actually been asking for a long time, and I know it's not really, it's not really necessary for an alpha, but one thing I really wanted, because I was taking lots of screenshots, one of the things I actually really enjoyed early on in Arena Commander and stuff is taking really cool screenshots of the in the game. And one of the things that made it an absolute nightmare was aliasing.
Yeah.
Trying to get a screenshot without any aliasing, like really glaringly obvious, took like half an hour of just setting up one shot. 3.0 has anti-aliasing for the first time in Star Citizen. So that's one of those things that I'm like, it's a nice quality of life improvement, especially if you're not running 4K. Which, 4K I complained about it one time on the podcast, and people were like, "Oh, just run it in 4K," and I'm like,
"Yeah, because everyone can run it in 4K easily."
Yeah,
it's not like
I'm running 18 FPS at 1080p. I don't think 4K is really an option for me. But that's going to be a nice quality of life improvement. It sounds like they have a lot of optimization done, which is nice, but I just don't want them to overdo it, because they're going to have to redo a lot of this stuff later. 3.0 is not the release.
No.
And they need to make sure that they do what's necessary for 3.0, but not like, oh, this will be great, but then we'll have to redo it for every patch afterwards. That's just annoying.
Yeah.
My hope is, actually, next question. Simple question, actually. Do you think that once 3.0 is out, different way of wording this. Do you think they're going to hit their goals for 2018 with releasing one major patch per quarter? Vince?
They'll release 2 in a year, I think. But, I mean, there's always going to be something to think, oh, well, it'll be really worth it if we just push it back 1 more month to include this feature. Oh, wait, this feature that we added in caused these problems, and there's a lot of dependencies that messed up. That's always going to happen. Like, I mean, they can get a lot done in 3 months, but integrating it with the rest of the code base and all that stuff, I don't know if they'll be able to pull it off. But I appreciate the attempt, and I appreciate the thought behind it.
What do you think, Paul?
I don't think there's a snowball's chance in hell they're going to release it and at these quarterly rates, because it would require a fundamental philosophical shift by CIG, and they don't have that. I don't see any evidence of a philosophical shift in terms of how they're approaching the game, because I could see the how they would do it. The philosophical shift would require, okay, we've got this 3.0 is out. Now we're just going to work up to this point. We're going to cut off at this point, and then we're going to patch it or test it, get it to Evocati, get it to PTU, and release it. That requires a release mindset rather than a development mindset. And it's a Chris Roberts game. Chris Roberts, look at what 3.0. 3.0 was supposed to be out in June, and it was supposed to be a shell compared to what this game was, or June or July. And he kept like, no, let's do this, let's have this. And they're like, yeah, cool, it's cool, so let's make this. And so it's becoming this foundation, but I don't see them changing their mindset until 4.0. So, I mean, I think we'll get maybe 2 patches next year, if we're lucky. And that will be 3.1 and 3.2. And I think the year after that, we may get 1, maybe 2. And then it'll be the soft release. It'll be a beta where they're done with the content, but they're not done with, or they're done with the features, but not done with the content. Their initial features. So, but
go ahead.
I don't know. I mean, is it possible? Yes. Do I think it's likely? No. And I don't think anyone should put their hopes up like that.
See, like what they need to do, the way that it has to work, and this sort of what you touched on there, is you need to. So it's quarterly updates, right? So it's January, April, July, and October. You need to cut it off. For example, for the April one, March 1st, you go, okay, whatever is ready today is what's going into the next patch, and nothing else. Period. And I agree that seems like something. It would be a change in the way they do things. Now it depends where that direction is coming from and whether or not it can be overridden by Chris Roberts' whims. If that direction's coming from Aaron Roberts and he's the global head of production and he can manage to keep those dates, then maybe they can pull it off. But I'm more inclined to believe that it'll be 2 patches than 4.
Yeah. If we could get something during the summer, I would be absolutely ecstatic. Because holy fuck, they've been like summers since 2015 have been.
Oh yeah, just
bat down head, just
horrible.
walk away. Just don't even try to interact with the community. Don't do anything. Just walk away because
if you look
kiddies are
back
out of
at their
school
summers,
and everybody else has no time, all the time on their hands, so they're just gonna rip on CIG, and then CIG for some reason has this thought that it's summertime means we don't develop anymore, and so they just kind of sort of play developer for 3 months, and it sounds shitty. And it's not, and I'm being hyperbolic, whatever. English, language, not yes. Educators. But I am being a little overblown. But at the same time, it's very much like I've predicted it every year for the last 3 years, or since 2015. I've predicted every summer it's going to be bad. And it has been, because
they're very quiet in the summers.
Yeah.
They have been for years and years and years and years. It actually dates back really far. July especially is usually very quiet on all fronts from CIG.
Doesn't end until Gamescom, really.
Yeah, more or less. Shiver, what do you think?
I think, like everyone else is saying, we're going to get 2, and that's being optimistic, drops, and then because that's what they're working on now. Not everyone in the whole company is that they're working away on 3.0. Some have completed their tasks and are moving on to the next thing, obviously, and some people are even beyond that. But it's going to get to the point that if it's quarterly and there's so much that needs to be done, it's going to be either incredibly small content drops, like, I doubt even major mechanics. We might get mining in the first or second big drop, and then after that a new cargo container, something like that, I would imagine.
A new cargo container, right? Actually, that's a very good question.
Just the backlog, I think.
So my next question, because they have the Delta patcher now, do you expect more interim patches between the major patches because they can actually do it now?
When you say more, do you mean more than we've had over the past year?
No, I mean more frequent than, for example, the 2.6 branch was. Or the 2.5 and 2.6 branch.
Bug fixes and stuff could be rolled out really easily. And they could even add like just one ship here and there. That'll be nice. But
like add more outposts,
Wouldn't count on it.
Okay.
Wouldn't count on it.
What do you think, Paul?
I always refer back to this question when this kind of question. I always refer back to when Matt Sherman would show up in my chat, or he shows up in the captain's table, and we always the question's always asked, because of the Delta patcher, do you think we'll get faster patching, interim patching? And he always responds, no.
There you go.
And it's straight up. And the reason why he says it is you still have to go through all of the processes. Whenever we changed it to be like, how about hotfix? And he's always like, no comment. Like, basically, maybe we'll see hotfixes. And you know what? I would love for them to do hotfixes on a weekly or monthly basis, just because it's a little tweak here and there. It means that they can do it much faster. They don't have to deal with it. Just like, oh, I've got a 15 kilobyte upgrade change because they just changed a couple of like values in the game. That kind of stuff makes it easier to make the game fun. And
kill game breaking bugs. You don't have to wait for 6 months for a patch.
Well, yeah, for small fixes.
Yeah,
not new content. I think we'll get a new content faster than you think, because CIG is actually pretty quick on getting to that point. Think about the difference between 2.6.2 and 2.6.3 was about a month, and they released a Buccaneer.
Yeah.
In an interim patch. So I could see something like that happening, where it's like 3.0.2 is ready in February, if they release at the end of this year, which I'm gonna be honest. Who here doesn't think they're just gonna kick it out the door in December, and they need to release 3.0 at the end of the year? It'd be their first quarterly release. They'd just be like, "It's done. Boom, we're done."
Well, if they're gonna do that, they basically have to go to PTU like next week, or the week after, or else they're gonna put out 3.0 and it's gonna be a dumpster fire.
I mean,
It'll be a 2.0 all over again.
I'm expecting a 2.0 all over again.
Yeah, I hope that they
if
either.
we're lucky, it'll go to PTU at Christmas for everyone, and then they're kind of.
That's what they should do.
I'm still 50-50 about whether or not they'll make that, to be quite honest.
Yeah, they're
Nice,
burning down bugs pretty fast. Actually, that's something that's and yes, I'm using Burndown. But I mean, they went from like 300 some issues down to 190 something, and then down to 179 by Friday. That's pretty fast. They seem to be squashing bugs very quickly right now. Which helps because they were talking about like with shopping, they're like, we're not putting anything new in, we're fixing it. And with the Mobi-Glass, they're like, we're not putting anything new in, we're fixing it. And
Lockdown, yeah.
And so my hope is that if they can burn down things really quickly, that they can get a PTU, because they were already talking this week about getting a PTU build ready. But my question is, why hasn't shopping gone to Evocati then? Like, can you do a PTU build without testing those other features of the Evocati first? And that's sort of my concern there.
I mean, like, here's the thing. They have in the past done PTUs where they have some things that haven't been activated and they activate them in the middle of them at some point.
Yeah.
I think the reality is that the marketing bonuses outweigh the deficits for kicking it out at the end of the year with a live release. It does. It's shitty because the issue isn't necessarily that is it a fixed game? Is it working? Because if shopping's not ready and they just can't get it ready, they can just say "fuck it, we're not doing shopping." Or we're gonna.
Well, they did. They did drop the minimum viable product line this week, so
Yes, they did. Yeah.
They dropped 3.0 as the MVP.
Well,
It's no longer.
no, no. They just dropped that, like it was a name drop, right? Word drop. They Todd Pappy was like, we're figuring out what our minimum viable product is. And I was like, oh boy. I know some people are going to be uncomfortable with that.
The reality is that they have the same mindset as Digital Extremes. And anyone who knows Digital Extremes, the people who make
Warframe.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Warframe is, they say when we release Warframe, it'll be done. Like we won't touch it anymore. We're not making the game anymore.
I don't think it's quite the same mindset, because I expect them to make Star Citizen until like 2088.
But that's what I mean. Is like, I think at when they release, it's not really going to be a release. It's going to be the first iteration. But even then, it's still going to be kind of like a beta.
Oh yeah,
because
totally.
I don't expect quarter releases, but I do expect after that point they're going to probably do yearly releases of new content. Just be like, hey, we've been working on this all year. Here's new systems, like 50 new systems. Here's a new like bunch of factions you have to deal with and all these sorts of things. Like
the way that Eve do it.
Yeah, something like that. And Eve has been going on. Speaking of forever, they've been going on since what, 2003?
No,
Yeah.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, it has. They've that game is actually. I personally can't get into it, but I always say, it's super impressive how incredibly successful they've been. I don't know if their player count is still going up, but their player count gradually increased on like a steady rate for over 10 years. Like it never decreased. And that's very hard to do. Very hard.
Was more than the population of Iceland at one point.
Well, yeah. Also, isn't it really weird that they have like a global phenomenon game that is developed in Iceland of all freaking places?
Of all places.
For those who are not acquainted, Iceland has 300,000 people, like in the entire country. There are small cities in Canada that have more people than that. That's the size of an American town. But I think it's about time we go to questions. So if anybody has questions, please shoot them in our faces. So I'm going to go to a couple questions, actually several questions that we weren't able to get to last week. So we're going to do these rapid fire. First one is Brivels84 asks, do you think CIG should release more cheap starter ships? So more like Aurora, Mustang-ish ships.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What would they be like? Well, what role hasn't been
Space minivan.
Cheap, startery, and spacey ship like.
Yeah, like a
like Aurora, you know,
like a space,
or a Reliant,
a
or
space,
maybe a
a
Mustang.
space bus.
A seat with an engine.
Yeah.
I think
saying here. Let me throw up some ideas right now. They could do
Like an Aurora CL,
a space van, where you have like
Winnebago.
yeah, kind of like a Winnebago or like those big passenger vans. You can hold 16 people for transportation and for you can pull the seats out and you can make it like a box van. You could do.
Don't they kind of already have that with them with the Hull A, which is also really cheap?
But it's not a starship. It's $60.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
it's a little bit more. It's sort of in the next tier. I forgot that it was that expensive.
The baby hull, you know, the whole baby edition, you know.
Yeah, the whole AA.
Yeah. You could do a mining prospector. That's not like the prospector, but it's like you go out and you have all the suite and tools to be able to identify where the mining is, and then you can go out with hand tools and mine it, but it has all of the suites and all that kind of stuff. Okay. You could do a salvage, again, a similar thing where you like scan salvage and like as a kind of as a scout, but not as specifically with tools designed for salvage.
I just had the greatest idea. You have like a little tiny salvage ship, and you could, instead of having like a cargo hold, it could just have like a rare earth magnet. It's like a block, and you just like stick stuff to it.
Yeah,
from on the outside, and you build up like this huge garbage scow thing on the inside.
like a Katamari Damacy, like you know, like as you're totally. Around, you're just like gathering things as you go.
Exactly.
You just need that music playing as you're sucking everything in. But I mean, you could also do. Let's see, what else could you do? You could do.
One of the early concepts for a Dragonfly, basically a suit with quantum drive engines on it, because I kind of want that.
Quantum drive engines on its suit.
I just want a suit that's an engine.
Something that's like a converted freaking escape pod where you just like stand in it and it's got an engine on it. Like you could easily do something like that as a means of like.
That's funny.
I need to get from point A to point B. You know, there's the other advantage is that we don't have. What about the Xi'an Aurora? What about the Banu Aurora? What about the Vandul Aurora?
That's a good point.
We don't have alien starter ships. You think that the Banu grow up and they're like, I'm 16-year-old Banu Groot guy, and I'm gonna go into my Banu merchantman, you know, and fly it around. Like,
well, they do have the Banu scout ship now. So.
But that's what I mean. Like, there needs to be some small level, especially if. And this is a big if because they haven't confirmed it. They talked about it, so that should do. But if you want to do down the line playable alien races for players, you will need alien starter ships because they're going to need to have starter ships for those alien characters. So it also fleshes out the universe. More ships means more diversity. I mean, look at Elite Dangerous. I keep going back to Elite Dangerous because I've been playing it recently, but even Eve. Both of these games started off with a very small number of ships, you know, a healthy amount, but now it's huge. It's just exploding with the number of ships that they have, and so they have a lot more variety in ships that you're saying. You know, it makes it more interesting for combat, it makes it more interesting for trade, for piracy, for scouting, for just making the world feel like it's not dead, you know, that kind of stuff.
You have me at exploding ships, man.
Yeah.
All right, so the next one is I'm going to skip that one.
That was a fast cart question.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Heramus asks, do we might see the promised start of Squadron 42 where they promised a massive battle in the beginning? I think he's asking if we're going to see, like at the holiday live stream, the massive battle at the beginning of Squadron 42. Or do you think they'll show something else?
I would love
Tomorrow Tour Point 2.
I would love for them to show the attack because we know that it starts with the attack on Vega. I would love to see that start. But we don't know. I mean, it's complicated because like it would. While I'd love to see that, at the same time, it's having a Moro Tour version 2 or like your first patrol makes a little bit more sense because it shows off what the gameplay is like, how the character interaction system is like, what the combat is like, what the like effects are like. Because like everything we see in Star Citizen, the biggest issue people have is my FPS sucks balls. Like my FPS is lower than an N64 on a portable television. Like that doesn't make any sense. But anyways, the shitty FPS, and 100% of that reason is because of network, not because of the game or how the game's optimized in reality.
Game runs amazing in single player.
Yeah. So the key for Squadron 42 is to show off all of the aspects of the game while also showing off how it's not Star Citizen because it's got a massive amounts of like high FPS. Like put that shit on like a Vega card with, you know, an i9 in it, you know, like just boost that sucker to eternity in terms of like the best stats you can, and then just unlock the FPS forever so you can see like 400 FPS in Squadron at 6K resolution, you know. 16K resolution with the one monitor that exists in the world that's 16K that they have there to show it off.
They're gonna bring Linus in to help them with that.
What's that?
You're gonna bring Linus Tech Tips in to help them with that?
Yes, exactly. Just fly them in. It needs to blow people away. Like it needs to be you know, the coming out party of Squadron 42 because they want to show it off as like the game that's going to be coming out next year or soon that no one has seen yet. I mean, most likely next year if they're going to be doing a big extravaganza this year. But if it's just like, hey, here's Mark Hamill. He's going to talk about the game a little bit. I'm just going to be like, well, come on, really?
This might be sad, but I think the thing I'm most excited about the whole event is that they say that they are going to have a production like schedule thing for Squadron at the holiday live stream. So like that is going to be a big thing because then it'll give us some idea of where they are at and what they have to do. Because I think that's important for people because we have no idea currently where it's at. Now, next question is there a date for the holiday live stream? This is also from Haramis. Not to my knowledge.
I believe it's scheduled to be 2 weeks from the sale, if I remember correctly. Like there's no official start, but it's usually the week before they go on break, which is my guess is the 22nd. It's probably the last.
So it's probably
day
on
of
the
work.
15th.
So it's probably on the 15th.
Okay.
Which is again about 2 weeks after or 3 weeks after the sale.
The start of the sale. Yeah, the sale actually ends on December 4th. So just be
to be 2 weeks. Yeah, it's usually like that because they don't like doing it on the last day before they go out, but they usually do it the week before.
Okay, so do you think the reason they haven't put out a date yet is because they want to make sure they can deliver the Squadron demo?
If they made an announcement that they're going to show it off at the holiday live stream, they had better have at that point of the announcement show off at the holiday live stream. CIG has. I hope. I pray to God. Hold on, let me do Eris. I pray to God they actually learned something. But you know, it's CIG, so sometimes you just sit there and scratch your head and just shake your head and be like.
So you're really hoping the holiday live stream isn't in like late January?
Sorry, don't look behind you.
Oh, I'm seeing it. Don't worry.
I mean, Squadron's more Aaron's bag, really, isn't it? And I think we can rely on Aaron if he's the one who's saying, "Yeah, you can start hyping up, showing off Squadron for the live stream." It must be in a position where he's comfortable to show it.
Another great one from Haramis. Top 5 bullshit bingo words for the holiday live stream.
Oh, like buzzwords, like bullshit stuff they say.
Yeah.
Can we just throw out the fidelity, immersion, and what's the trifecta? It's usually there's always 3: fidelity, immersion, and
polish.
No.
I think polish is.
Polish is usually in there, but attention to detail.
those at least fidelity and immersion need to like
Yeah.
no they shouldn't be bullshit bingo because that's they're gonna say that no matter
Those
what.
are the free ones in the middle.
Yes, that's that's the free space.
Streaming refractured textures.
Streaming, polish, 60 FPS, AI. What's the one
Subsumption?
word that subsumption? There's a word that they use all the time that I'm like that's nothing. That means nothing. That you just used is just it's garbage that you just made up.
What are you referring to?
It has to do with it's not networking. It's like
Serialized variables?
No, that actually means something. But I mean,
Object container streaming.
Object container stream. There you go. That's what it is. It's
I
like
mean, it means
like,
something. It just most people don't understand what it means, so it might as well mean nothing.
yeah. Diegetic. There we go.
Oh, diegetic.
Diegetic, yeah, absolutely.
Diegetic is a good one.
Exciting. Exciting. Is one of those.
Exciting is a good one. Yeah.
Deep. Like we have a deep system of bullshit. You know.
Immersive bullshit.
Yeah. Immersive bullshit. See, I'm inside this bullshit. This giant animal bullshit.
So Bravestar1 asks, do you think the Ursa rover could benefit from a remote activator for the Connie cargo bay door when you're just one person, instead of lowering the rover, then exiting the Connie, then re-entering the rover? What are your thoughts?
Connie's not really a one-person ship, but
Good
like,
idea, isn't it?
I appreciate it, yeah.
I honestly, I think definitely, and it should be super easy to do with the MOBA glass. Just be like, open Connie
remote
door.
control the ship.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, you should be able to do things like open the doors with your mobile glass or unlock
Exactly.
the doors with the mobile glass. You know.
I mean, you're going to need to remotely open your cargo bay doors for other reasons too, so why not? I think that's absolutely a good idea. Do you think major studio? This one's from Mayonnaise 15.
Good name.
What do you think major studios such as EA and Ubisoft will ever use the Star Citizen engine?
They can't, can they?
They
Well,
can
it
buy
depends.
it, but I don't think they will.
I mean, if
They
they
couldn't buy it off CIG because it's already they've only got a license to mess with it from Crytek.
No, they own the license. They don't have the license to mess with it. They own the license to modify it so that they can make their own.
Yeah, I think it's part of their planned business model to license the technology out.
Now-
And
not only that, by the time they're done with it, it's not going to resemble any other engine anyway.
The Star Engine.
Does that mean
it's a Star Engine? It's based off
We
the
can start
Amazon.
hoping for the
Lumberyard.
next Mech Warrior game based on this because I want a Mech Warrior game like this.
Well, I mean,
that'd be good.
Sean Tracy is famous for loving MechWarrior, and that's the one thing I'd like to see happen is like once Star Citizen is out in a initial release and they've gotten all of Squadron 42 done, to take a small team because they have a huge amount of people who work for them. Take a small team of 50 or so developers, give Sean Tracy some people and have him make MechWarrior 5. You know, or MechWarrior Tactics or something
That
like
would
that.
be amazing.
You know, because
Buy the IP?
yeah, I mean,
That'd be great.
but I think what we'll more likely see is small studios, studios like maybe like the studio that makes MechWarrior Online might do something like buy that engine to make something with it. Studios like CD Projekt Red might do something with it. We're not looking at studios that are tied to major studios because the truth is that Ubisoft, EA, and Activision all are building their own in-house engines and then forcing everyone to use those engines. Like EA's is Frostbite. The Frostbite engine is now being used for every single game that EA makes, no matter what. Ubisoft has the Assassin's Creed game that they make everything, or the engine that they make all the games with, and Activision is doing something similar, where like they're creating a standard engine that works for what it works for, and then they're building the Valve model.
And then there's also, I mean, and then you have the other like huge engines like the Unreal 4. It's Unreal 4, right? Unreal 4 engine. That a lot of developers like, and then you have Unity, which is hugely popular as well.
I could see Amazon Lumberyard buying some of the tech from CIG to put into Lumberyard so that they could sell that better. I think it more likely they would sell the rights to the upgrades they did to Lumberyard to Amazon so that Amazon could then sell better.
See, I could see that maybe happening. I mean, I know that they want to do something with their engine modifications, but I think their best bet is to package them up and sell it back to Amazon and be like, this can be another engine you sell alongside Lumberyard, call it Star Engine, and it will, it will offer the features of like amazing graphics and huge open world play spaces.
It's the tools. It's the tools that they would be selling, not necessarily the engine. And the
I
tools are supposed to
personally
work
want
for
more. I want more games companies to take the Bethesda approach. I want them to buy a company that is famous for making amazing, sturdy engines, and then keep using a fucking old engine in every single Elder Scrolls game from now fucking on that you've been using since the fucking third one.
Hold on, Shiver.
It's the creation engine now. It's different.
Give them
it's
credit.
different.
Give them credit. They also use that same fucking engine in every Fallout game too. That's been the same thing.
That's true. That's true.
Give them credit where credit is
Game
due.
Pyro.
They really need a new engine. So this
which, by the way, that whatever the fuck that engine is the same engine that's been existing. They bought it from somebody else back in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
So
Gamebryo
is not even like the company that made Gamebryo is not even in existence anymore. They own the rights to Gamebryo, and no one else uses Gamebryo but them. And
they need a new engine.
Hates it. Yeah.
So this might be my favorite question in a long time. This is from Winstill. What are your thoughts on Tesla's new concept ship? I'm concerned about the lack of LTI and the $250,000 war bond price. Personally, I'm waiting for Model 3.0.
Well, I can tell you it'll punch above its weight class.
Absolutely.
How many other cars can it carry inside of it?
Zero. It's a tiny little car.
Does it have snubs cars inside of it so you can like launch a little mini bike, a little Tesla mini bike out the back?
I do love that how they revealed it, how it drove out of the back of the Tesla Semi. That was amazing.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh yes, we have another car too that we want to show you. So Stevie Wondering, great name, asks, are there going to be any more concept sales soon? Well, very likely at least one with the anniversary sale, which starts in about a week.
I could almost guarantee you there'll be one with a holiday live stream as well.
And yeah, so there's probably at least one during anniversary sale and at least one during the holiday live stream.
Isn't the theory that the one that's going on the anniversary sale is going to be the ship for the Carrack?
I've heard
Pisces?
rumors about that.
Pisces?
Yeah, the Pisces. I've heard rumors about
people
that.
Going and looking at the not CitizenCon, the anniversary sale logo, and it does look like it's got at least a Hornet of a cockpit of a Hornet on it. So people are saying that must be the Pisces, which is possible.
It is possible.
Apparently, Disco Lando's confirmed that there are 2 concept sales during the anniversary.
Perfect. That's great.
Well, let's think of the 2 concept ships they could do: the Pisces and the Lynx.
The Lynx could be one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. For those who are not familiar, the Lynx is another rover similar to the Ursa, same manufacturer.
The Tumbrel tank.
Tumbrel tank.
Yes.
I want a tank.
That'd be dope.
Yeah!
Why are my tanks?
It'd be cool to have a tank with the because you have like maybe a small portable hover tank that'll like gets dropped out of a Connie and then you can it kind of unfolds the treads or something like that, or unfolds its little like hover beams.
You have me at hover tank. Just leave it at hover tank.
Yeah.
Oh, LTI knife.
Played
Yeah.
Battlefield
We'll have
2042 again.
Okay.
have an LTI knife.
I'm going to interrupt here and go, hey, everybody out there, please send in some more questions. We have one more question left, and we have 20 minutes, so we could answer at least 3 or 4 more. So if you have any questions, throw them at us. Our last question. When is the holiday live stream, which we don't know, and what is this strange week of daily ATVs?
Yeah, really.
It's going to be interesting. I'm actually kind of really looking forward to seeing what they do. They did such a great job of the anniversary stream last year. Like the...
Was that Eris?
No.
No.
It was CS.
I'm looking at the replay right now. Sorry.
So my next question is, why haven't you smacked the shit out of CS yet? Well, you know.
It's coming. Good about 20 minutes.
That's what that was, except I missed him. But
Ghost 404 is saying that he called tank last week and it's looking more likely this week. I don't know why they would have a tank. Like, it doesn't make any sense at this early stage for them to develop a tank unless it's going to be in Squadron 42. And then how the hell are you going to get a tank to the battlefield? You'll need a ship to be able to carry the tank. And the only ship that I know that can carry large vessels is like the Starfarer right now. You know, because even the Caterpillar has got little like space for cargo to
yeah, it's not going to go in there. Yeah, you'd have a hard time carrying it right now. Yeah, there really isn't a good vehicle. I mean, the Genesis
convert troop version might be able to be one.
Maybe
Just carry it underside or something.
Yeah.
Well, the Genesis is 2 decks. It's got the cargo deck and it's got the transport deck, and they actually have a military version of the Genesis that they're planning on, which has troops on top and then like equipment on the bottom, which includes tanks.
But we're so far away from that. Like, I don't think they're even working on that yet.
Nope.
The Genesis isn't even in production.
No.
The Carrack is in production, but it doesn't have enough room for a tank either. It has enough room for a rover.
Mm-hmm.
They actually comes with a rover, but
The modules underneath the Carrack, could they be swapped out to instead have space for a tank?
maybe. But you're talking about an
Maybe.
exploration ship here.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's,
Is he
that doesn't
trying to
fit the
tempt
role
you with
at
a
all.
burrito?
No, that's actually carrot cake.
Oh, it's cake.
Oh,
He's trying to tempt you with cake.
He is
The
trying to
cake is
tip
a
me
lie.
with carrot cake. Anyway.
anyway.
But no, I think the answer is also is we're probably not going to see a tank. We're probably going to see something like a mobile SAM launcher, because having something.
Well,
that has
actually, we already
like
have one of those though.
50. We have one that it can fire one rocket and that's it, or one missile.
Yeah, fair.
And if you had a mobile thing that had like 50 size ones or like 25 size 2 missiles, they
Just
all
clear the
fire-
atmosphere.
Yeah, just fire nothing but rattlers in the sky. Then suddenly it becomes, yeah, fuck you. You're not, you know, it's an anti, you know, no one's coming near you because they're gonna get 3 missiles to the face, especially in atmosphere.
So, next question is from Mayonnaise 15. How much of the Bengal carrier do you think we will be able to explore in Squadron 42?
I think we're not going to see. I think the most we'll see in Squadron 42 of the Bengal carrier is right at the very end of the game. It's like, here's your new posting. Bengal carrier comes in, end credits.
All right, let me say something. If you do not want spoilers for Squadron 42, take your headphones off, mute this. I will give the high sign. If I do this, it means I'm done talking. Okay?
No, fuck them, Astro. It's our podcast now. Let's go for it.
Yeah. Okay. I was saying. I'm serious though. I know the ending of Squadron 42 because they leaked it twice. And you spend the entire game in the Idris. That's it.
That makes sense.
And the Bengal shows up at the end. That's essentially the what at least the last one we saw. So it's exactly kind of like what Shiver says.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh well. It's just
So,
pretty big.
Do you
I'll
hear?
do that.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of 1,000 sighs of depression.
Well, I'm sure you'll still get to. Probably won't get to explore much, but the game has also changed dramatically since I last saw that.
Mhm.
It's no longer just a bunch of linear missions. It's now, hey, you have the entire system to explore, And then here are some points you need to investigate. Think of
I
it
actually
think of it less like Wing Commander and more like, or even Mass Effect, and think of it more like Destiny. How Destiny handles its missions. Mission here, mission here, mission here, mission here. You can fly over there, but your current mission is for you to go there, kind of thing.
I actually expected. I mean, I think Squadron's going to be a really, really good single player game. I mean, I've always thought that, but the addition of like the large world and everything gives it so much ability to be awe-inspiring. If you know what I mean. I think it's going to be a pretty cool experience. Next one up is Magpie asks, "Will this be the only time you guys are done on time?" I wouldn't bet on it. Rivals84 asks, "Out of the relay staff, who would fill the major roles in Spaceballs?" I'm probably going to get assassinated for this, but I haven't seen that movie.
And who's he asking? Out of us or out of CIG?
They said out of the relay staff, who would fill the major roles in Spaceballs? But I don't know.
Jake is Barf.
Fuck, I wanted to be Barf.
Eris is probably Lone Star. And the Nehkara is Darth Helmet.
Yeah.
He's surrounded by assholes.
Should it be? I could be.
Can I be the cross-eyed gunner?
Yes, you can be the
Yeah,
asshole.
that's good. Yeah.
There's not a lot of people in Spaceballs. There's like 6.
Colonel Sanders.
Yeah.
President Scrooge. What is it?
I'd say you'd probably be
Scrooge?
President Scroob or whatever.
Yeah.
Probably would you be. I don't know who else.
The Yelling
Just
Woman.
pick a better movie like Airplane. We could have had a lot more fun with that.
Yeah, Airplane's not really
Yeah.
about the characters either.
No, there's really no character-driven. Like the only character-driven. There's not a lot of character-driven comedies really that have like ensemble casts.
Mm-hmm.
Most character-driven comedies are like 4 dudes or 4 chicks doing something, or a mixture of men and women that never increases over 4 for some reason.
If you haven't seen Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, that's an amazing one.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Inserting components into slots on Happy Hour, does that give you expectations for 3.0? This one is from Elwook.
I'd love to see it out, but I don't know.
I 100% expect it to be in 3.0. It's just part of items 2.0, so that should be done in time.
Do you think the knock-on? Well, do you think they're basically showing off engineering, the very first start of multi-crew engineering with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, actually, they commented and they're like, "Well, there's gonna be a lot of stuff for engineers to do." Yeah, there's a lot of maneuvering of components. Next question is also from Mayonnaise 15. What other games coming out in the near or distant future are you most looking forward to?
Dual Universe, which is coming out in the distant future, but there's really no other game. Dual Universe. It's it's an MMO. I think Star Citizen crossed with Space Engineers. It's a completely player-driven MMO. It's you start off with nothing, and you can build. It's like Minecraft, where you like gather resources and build stuff. But you build your ships, you build cities, you build stations. You can develop your own like colony and your own like. But it's all player-driven. There is no NPCs. It's all players.
I like it because I think Space Engineers is great, but it needs more focus and guidance and clear objectives and all that stuff. So, sounds cool.
Yeah, it feels very Eve-like, and from what I've seen in terms of like, you do whatever the fuck you want to. Here's a planet, or not planet. I think their goal is to like one solar system, maybe multiple solar systems, but at least just one solar system at first. Here's a solar system. All players, you can build. These planets are huge. Build what you want. It's actually made by a French company, and it was developed by a guy who is a French robotics expert who kind of helped lead the field of robotics for a long time, and then. He wanted to build the game because he wanted to show off something about the tech, some of the tech he developed when he was developing robotics in terms of like handling large scales and like large to small. And they use the same networking tech as Star Citizen's planning on doing. So they're both using similar networking tech.
Cool.
Vince, any for you?
You know, I hadn't actually thought about it, but not really. I'm not really looking forward to any particular game other than Star Citizen right now. Like something will come up, but I mean, Steam wishlist I don't think has any unreleased games. Sorry.
Shiver?
Vampire and that Jurassic World building theme parky game thing.
Yes. They're making a Frontier is making a version of what the heck is it? Planet Coaster that is based in the Jurassic Park world. So they're basically Jurassic World universe. So they're basically taking their tech from Planet Coaster, and basically you can make dinosaur theme parks. I think that's gonna be really cool.
Does that mean the
That
dinosaurs
sounds
will be able to
rad.
sit on benches?
They better be able to, especially the little ones. The raptors just sitting there watching everybody walk by and then eating them. Be great.
I will say there's another game that's coming out which has direct ties to Star Citizen that I'm interested in.
What's that?
Kingdom Come
Yes,
Deliverance.
it's almost out.
Oh yeah.
It's releasing in February, so for all three platforms. In fact, this week I got an email saying like, "Hey, you're a Kickstarter backer. Tell us which platform you want your game on, so we can get you the code on time." So,
So for me, it's actually two very far off games beyond the Jurassic World one. The new Elder Scrolls is being made right now. They're talking.
What?
They're talking
What?
about it being very far off. Like it's not their next game or the game after that. It's 3 games away. So,
Frontier
but
Maybe they'll have
they're
the
already
engine
making
by
it.
then.
What was that?
for Frontier. you're
No,
saying?
no. Elder Scrolls.
Other Scrolls. Yeah.
They're making
Oh,
Bethesda's
I was
making.
talking about
Elder Scrolls.
Starfield because everyone has been rumored about Starfield for a while now, and that was supposed to be the next big game, and a lot of people are saying it's a space sim.
Oh, from Bethesda.
And
From Bethesda?
It's an IP. Well, the thing is that
Oh, that's interesting.
for the longest time, Bethesda had the Star Trek IP to make Star Trek RPG, and they lost it because
They didn't make a
use-
freaking game.
No, and they gave it originally to Obsidian. They hired Obsidian to work on it, and then they couldn't agree on which direction they wanted to go.
Yeah.
So eventually,
It failed. Yeah.
But they've been since at least 2006 looking into making a spaced RPG, something like Wing Commander or Mass Effect,
Oh,
or some
interesting.
combination of the two.
Well, I'm intrigued by that. The other one
And-
is I watched BlizzCon this year, and I love Blizzard, always have. They had a tease at the end of their closing ceremonies, where one of their founders, he was like, should we tell them? No, we're not going to tell them. Tune in next year. But
World
was
of StarCraft.
the rumor is that there's another big project Blizzard's working on. That honestly, anything out of them would be huge. Especially now that they've done their FPS thing. I haven't
Let's
really
sit
been
back
able to get into Overwatch.
Let's
So,
sit back and think about this though.
World of StarCraft, absolutely.
They sniped the crap out of CIG early on. They stole a lot of CIG developers from the early days when they were just doing kind of, and they brought them on to work with their MMO for WoW. And a lot of these guys have been doing very well, as you know, and Blizzard's been like exchanging employees with Star Citizen back and forth.
A lot of them, yeah.
And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if some members, people like Tyler or other people like that, ended up leaving Star Citizen because they got offered bigger jobs back at Blizzard if they're doing World of StarCraft. Because Blizzard's not dumb. They sit back, they look at something like Star Citizen, they look at something like Elite Dangerous, and they say, space is back. And we have, what's our space? Oh, we have StarCraft, which is a huge IP. It's its own world, just like Warcraft was.
Not
There's
only
been
that,
several
they have
games.
infinite money.
So
So
why not Why not make the and World of Warcraft is getting old. They need some buffer time between making wrapping up Warcraft and starting World of Warcraft 2 from everything they learned from the first one. That's what Titan was supposed to be, and it failed. So I'm guessing.
Although Overwatch did a real damn good job of filling in for them, Overwatch has been huge.
It's been huge, but people who play WoW don't necessarily play Overwatch.
No.
You need people who play WoW to play World of StarCraft. Don't worry, it's just the assassin who lives in my house.
Yeah.
Sorry. Balls 84 has subscribed, and he demands his wave from you.
Okay.
Hold on.
Oh, I got it.
Tumble wave.
I believe
I'm falling in atmosphere.
Commonwealth Syrup earlier also subscribed and wants a wave.
Oh, no. Thank you very much.
I'm falling for you, chat. I'm falling for you.
That's amazing. Good one, Paul. What was I going to say? Oh, right. Actually, I'm going to give Blizzard huge credit. The updates that they're doing, that they announced for World of Warcraft, I think are actually really cool and will probably bring me back again. I really think it was smart of them to actually do the classic World of Warcraft thing. And the Battle for Azeroth expansion looks amazing. So I think they're going to have some success in reviving WoW maybe one last time before they move on to another game.
I think they want to go back to WoW. I think, but what they need to do is take what they learned from WoW and build another, like WoW 2.
I honestly think that they might go to Warcraft 4, and make another RTS.
The 6Fs and I are just sat here going, didn't play it. Never played it. Don't care.
Yeah, fair enough. So a couple more questions here before we close up. Do you have any concerns that we don't know anything about reputation, crime, or punishment yet? Well, we know some things. Seems to me that it will take a long time to balance, and they said, look at the shit system in Elite Dangerous, and they need to start soon if it will be good. This is from Thrace Fulton.
For what?
Wait,
so this is
there's a shit system in ED?
Reputation.
Now I want the toilet on the cutlass.
Reputation, crime, and punishment is the concern. Like that, if they don't start now, then it's going to be really hard to make it a good system in the end.
I think they've already started. I mean, to a degree, we already have that initial system in 2.6.3, and while it's not great,
very bare bones, but it's a start of the implementation of how that affects the gameplay, and then they build on that from there. Absolutely, yeah.
So, and I can guarantee you that in the long run that'll get fleshed out. The problem is that they need to have factions, and they need to have those factions make, missions, and they need to have those missions matter, and you need to have the reputations. Like they have it all ready to go, but it's like a lot of things in Star Citizen. They need to have this and this and this and this done before they can start dropping that in.
Yeah. So to finish off the day, we're going to answer our last question from Alice, which is, where the fuck is Eris?
He's doing some dumb shit with this new house that he likes to talk about all the damn time.
Something like that.
Probably.
Those important life things that, come along and just are a giant pain. Yeah. So we're going to wrap up on time this week, like was suggested in one of those questions.
Amazing.
So Paul, where can we find you?
Well, you can find me in about 3 hours at TheAstroPub, twitch.tv/TheAstroPub. I do the second big round of the Podsat Saturday. It starts off with the relay station, then goes to the captain's table, and after captain's table, it's Not So Sober Saturday night with Gray-Headed Gamer. We all do. We've been kind of working the schedule for 2-3 years now, something like that. So we like a couple months in, we realized we all had perfect timing with each other. So we decided to create. We call it the Podsat, Star Citizen Podsat, because that makes sense. It's funny. It's humorous. But yeah, I do Star Citizen Mondays and Fridays. I do space games every rest of the week. I do Warframe, Elite Dangerous. Sundays I kind of do a random stuff, and we used to do Pantsless and Pachinki, the only soap opera on Star Citizen, only soap opera on Twitch, but it's on hiatus until we can get some stuff leveled up. But so Star Citizen, Space and Science Fiction, twitch.tv/TheAstroPub. During the week, you can catch me at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Yeah.
Sure.
Nothing out of the ordinary this week. I've just got Dead Air on Wednesday over on the base.sc. If you don't value your hearing, come along.
That's an amazing eye roll, by the way. 6fsincaps, where can we find you? Or can we find you?
I'm not really anywhere except I think the Relay Discord. That's it. Sometimes I show up in the podcast, but that's really it. You can find me editing Relay Replay later today, and that's probably about it.
And you know me. You can find me around Relay, basically. It's the only place. And also...
Oh, no.
Oh, shit. There you go, guys. There's the SmackDown.
He's
Thank
no
you,
longer
Vince.
Commonwealth
Oh,
syrup,
boy.
he's Commonwealth.
Okay, somebody send me a clip of that.
Thank you guys for watching.
Oh man, I will be on the AstroPub with and the captain's table with Paul later. All right, everybody, that's
We had an interesting cast this week because we actually have a brand new member. Sorry to take this over real quick, but we have Captain Dux, who's been kind of a newish Star Citizen streamer for a bit. Darj, Tacon, you, and Dr. Drones. So we have two brand new people to the captain's table coming on this week. So it's
awesome.
gonna be interesting.
That's great. All right, everybody, that's the show for this week, and thank you all for tuning in. See you all around that. Wait, no, it's the wrong show again. Bye.